Have you ever noticed how the folks screaming the loudest about protecting the children are the same ones jumping at every chance to abuse the hell out of them legally? Christian nationalists are out here pitching good old-fashioned corporal punishment for special needs kids in schools because nothing says "what would Jesus do" like cracking a paddle over the back of a disabled and vulnerable child. That's the new golden rule, folks. When in doubt, just hit them like an old TV until they act right. And just when you think these Bible-thumping freedom fighters couldn't get any more unhinged, along come the proud folks of West Virginia, where the big idea is to rewrite their state constitution to declare that the Bible, yes, the same book where God commands his followers in Numbers 31 to slaughter children and force little girls into marriage, is somehow the historical and moral foundation of America. It's inerrant. It's historically reliable. It's the standard of morality. Because, yeah, nothing quite says land of the free like divine war crimes and state-sponsored child brides. That's the blueprint, baby. And just when you thought these Bible beaters couldn't dig a hole any deeper, here comes them dusting off the greatest hits, like Alabama slapping the 10 Commandments up in public schools, because nothing says quality education like making sure little Susie in the first grade knows she's basically property with pigtails. Smile for Jesus, sweetheart. You're livestock now. If you agree with these outrageously unconstitutional concepts, then give us a call because the show starts now. What's up, heathens? Welcome. Today is March 9th, 2025, and I am your host, Godless Engineer, and joining me today is Armin. How you doing today, Armin?
Good. That was a great opening. I enjoyed listening to it. That was great. That was dark, actually, a little bit, but that was very well delivered.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really wanted to highlight how ridiculous it is to put the 10 Commandments in public schools. Like, kids don't need to be, subjected to that.
I still can't believe we're still fighting for this. Like, this is so. Like, I mean, it's in the Constitution that these should be separate. Like, how? After these many years, still fighting for the same thing. I think we should have been over this by now. I don't know why it's taking.
Well, yeah, and this isn't the first fight in Alabama to keep the 10 Commandments out of public schools and off, public property. We had this fight like in the 90s. So like this is literally just rehashing the same shit over and over and over again.
It's just so bizarre that like we have some people, some members of our species figuring out, I don't know, the AI and also, cutting genes and proteins and I don't know, doing the craziest shit, finding cures for diseases. And then we have a whole bunch of other people still haven't gotten over text from 2,000, 5,000 years ago being the best guide for humanity. Like the fact that a huge portion of the population still is discussing that, it's just bizarre. I'm impressed how much progress we have made, given that so many of us are still stuck up on those ancient texts. And it's impressive that a few percentage of the population gets to be responsible for this much progress. I don't know. Sometimes I think about that.
Yeah, it's really crazy how backwards some people can be. But I do want to remind everybody that the Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And to start off with, we want to thank all of you, viewers, donors, volunteers, and the atheist community in general for helping us make our first ever 24-hour live stream and fundraiser a huge success. Thanks to our generous donations. Thanks to your generous donations, we raised over $10,000. Incredible work all around, but don't worry, if you weren't able to join us for the stream, you can still donate at tiny.cc/amplifyaca, all one word, on our website at atheistcommunity.org. And again, thank you so much. Thank you all so much for contributing to our very successful campaign. We are so excited to continue all of our great work because of your support. support. And hopefully maybe one day we can get Rufus and Josephus back on to tell some more campfire stories.
That's great, by the way. The $10,000. Congratulations. That's fantastic. I wish I was part of that. I didn't know. I didn't get the memo. Next time, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you can. It was really fun. Secular Rarity and myself, we had a really fun time on there, and everybody else had a great time too. So before we get started, though, we wanted to give you last week's results of the Share Your Experience question of the week. Last week we asked you, what can you say in a sales pitch but not at the pulpit? And here are our 3 favorites chosen by Johnny P. Angel. So coming in at number 3 is Chuck Gados. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right. What can you say in a sales pitch but not at the pulpit? And it's he said, new and improved. That's definitely good. Something you can't say from the pulpit, like new and improved. That just doesn't really happen in religion, does it?
I mean, it is they call it the New Testament, so I guess that counts, no?
I guess from the pulpit nowadays, you can't be like, some kind of new understanding. Coming in second, though, is Uncle F, who says, what can you say in a sales pitch but not at the pulpit? For entertainment purposes only. Sometimes it's quite entertaining, to see them up there like losing their crap over things that they really shouldn't be losing their shit over. But yeah. And then coming in at number 1,
that it would be,
go ahead.
I wouldn't mind religion if it was for entertainment purposes only. They should say that. If they said that, it would be just mythology. I could have fun with religion if it was for entertainment purposes only. I feel like this caveat is implied whenever you go to like one of those faith healing, the televangelists, like sermons and everything. That's got to be for entertainment purposes only. I mean, that's just implicit. Right.
And then for the first place spot, we've got Q100101. I feel like that's a computer that's cursing me out or something. What can you say at a sales pitch but not at the pulpit? We offer a no questions asked money back guarantee if you are not 100% satisfied. Whew.
That's a good
All right.
One.
Well, the prompt for this week is worst thing to give up for Lent. So, I have my own ideas, but Armin, what are yours?
Well, worse, I think, would be to give up Lent for Lent, because that would create a paradox. And it doesn't logically, it's a worse answer because it cannot exist, right? So how could you give up Lent for Lent? So I think that would be the worst answer.
Yeah.
Contradictory.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm very anxious to see what our audience is going to come up with in the comments section. Give us your best answer and tune in next week when we reveal the top 3. Put your answers in the comments below the video and not in the live chat. The only way that we're going to be able to put them up on the screen and collect them later is if you do it in the comments below. So, all right. I don't know, Armin, are you ready to jump in on one of these calls?
Yes, I'm excited. Some
all
good
right.
calls
Well,
here.
I think we're going to go to Larry over there in Canada. Hi there, Larry. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. So what do you want to talk about today there, Larry?
Well, I wasn't sure. I see Matt was on the TV here, and I thought that's the one I was calling about, but it's okay. What I wanted to talk about was Exodus 21 about, can you read have you got a Bible there?
I'm pulling it up right now. What do you prefer, a particular version for, our purposes here?
No, what version you got? It doesn't.
So versions. Typically, what
the oldest English one,
right?
James.
I don't know. I have trouble with the King James. Like, I don't read in old English. Nobody speaks in Old English. Like, it seems kind of ridiculous to use Old English in order to, understand these things.
Well,
where do you want to go?
The only Exodus 21 verse 2.
Sorry, you go ahead. Okay.
Could you read
All
it?
right.
I'm
sorry. Are you
got?
looking? The NRSVUE.
Okay, read.
I mean,
what,
okay.
What does it say?
Can you, Larry? Can you make your points instead of making our host just read through an entire, the entirety of Exodus 21? What is your point?
It's only one verse, but okay. I hear this verse constantly said that it's saying that God agrees with slavery, which
verse?
The reason why I'm asking is
okay.
The reason why
I can read it so that we're. I'm sorry, Larry. I can go ahead and read it so that we're all caught up on where you're at. So again, this is the NRSVUE. It says in Exodus 21, verse 2, when you buy a male Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, but in the 7th he shall go out a free person without debt. So yes, this is God affirming that you can buy a Hebrew slave, he'll serve for 6 years, and then he goes free in the 7th. So are you saying, do you think that God is essentially saying it's okay to keep Hebrew slaves as long as you free them after, 6 years?
And it's not just that verse, because verses 7 to 11 permit selling daughters into servitude with fewer rights than male slaves. And then verses 20 to 21 says masters can beat their slaves as long as their slave doesn't die immediately. And then, so it's not just that verse. There's other verses in this chapter that has problems as well.
Okay, so getting back to verse 2, there are a lot of versions out there, like the old King James, the oldest English Bible there is, the most sold. It does not say slaves. It says if you buy a servant. There is a difference.
I'm so sorry, Larry, to interrupt you right
servants?
now. No, So that's a weird kind of way to argue this. I'm just going to tell you right now that NRSVUE is updated so that it more accurately reflects what the Hebrew language is in the original writing. So basically, you're saying that a much later interpretation of the Hebrew text is more valid than what the original Hebrew text actually says?
Also, did he just say buy servants?
No,
these are not slaves?
Am I allowed to?
How are you?
Am I allowed to talk? Can I talk?
Yes, well, you are allowed to talk, but we're also allowed to talk. We are also allowed. But go ahead.
Okay, so the version that I know I read, and there's a lot of them. I could go through all the names and name. They all say the same thing: servant.
Yes, and I just want to reiterate that these are interpretations of the Hebrew language where people have changed the meaning of what was originally written. The version that I read to you just
I understand what you're saying. I understand.
Do you? Can you repeat back what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're saying that I just have a different version than you do that says
No. I'm so sorry, Larry. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that those people that translated the Hebrew into English changed what the Hebrew meant so that it said what they wanted it to say instead of representing what the Hebrew language actually denotes here. What the Hebrew language actually denotes is that it uses the same word for servant and slave. Like it's the same concept.
Okay, maybe we can slow this down a little bit and understand. I know exactly what you're saying. So why is your version right and mine's wrong? And you can tell me what you think it is.
Larry, I'll say this for the second time. Larry, I'll say this for the second time already. Okay, and I'm not going to repeat myself. All right. The NRSVUE has been updated to more accurately reflect what the Hebrew actually says. So why is mine more correct than the King James Version? Because it actually represents what's written in the original text of the Hebrew. Well, not the original manuscript, but I'm saying what the original language actually communicated. That's why mine's better than yours.
Listen, you asked me the phone and asked you something, and all you do is keep talking about what you believe. If that's what this is, then be honest and say.
You asked him a question, Larry. If you ask him a question, how could he, when he answers your question, he is talking about what he's. That's what you do when somebody is asked a question. Every time you answer a question, you're talking about what you believe. You actually prompt him to talk about what he believes by asking him a question.
Right, and he answered it, and I told you, I understand what he said.
And then he answered, and you complained that he's talking about what he believes. Obviously, he's going to talk about what he believes if he's answering your question.
Well,
and also,
I'm
you don't understand what he's saying. Okay?
And you won't let me finish talking. Can I talk, or can't I? Just say yes or no. If you don't want me to talk, then you can hang up or mute me. That's fine. But I'm trying to say something, and you won't let me. You've answered my question.
They're letting you, but when you ask a question, he opens his mics and he answers. That's not interrupting you. That's just him responding.
So how many times do I have to tell you? How many times do I have to tell you? I understand he answered the question, but you won't let me talk.
You are talking, but instead of making a point, you're not constantly. If you just made a point instead of complaining, we would have been so far ahead right now. So you're talking, but you're using your time to talk for complaining that you can't talk. But just make your point.
Okay. The point is, do you know the difference between a servant and a slave?
Yes.
Yes.
Then there's my point. You can take your version, and I can take one of the oldest Bibles there is, and many others that say that the person is a slave, not a person is a servant, not a slave.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Larry. Do you know what the Hebrew word for servant is?
Okay, I knew you were going to go there, so here's the point. I looked it up, and the Hebrew word that you guys are using doesn't even have a name for servant or slave. They just assume that's what it is. Because there is no word that actually says
I'm so sorry. You're just completely wrong about this. And look, I'm personal friends with several people that speak the Hebrew language, that have studied the Hebrew Bible and what these words mean and everything like that. So I mean, I've had extensive conversations with actual experts in this field, and so the word for servant is ebed. And then the word for slave is also ebed, and the word for bond servants, which would be like a debt slave or whatnot, is also ebed. So it's like they're all like, the whole idea is like, intermingled together. So when they choose servant over slave, it's literally just a preference for what you're putting down. So it's literally an interpretation of the words that are being used. It does like as far as like how the slaves are treated and like all that, there are several laws that cover Hebrew slaves. But the fact that this is talking about slavery, a type of slavery, Hebrew slavery, is still a thing. Like, that's still representative of Exodus 21:2.
I have a question for Larry. Larry, can I ask you a question? May I ask you a question?
No, can I actually say anything, or is this just the way it's going to keep going?
You just said something. What the hell? Are you noticing that you're making points and we respond? Like, is your idea of you saying things just you talking and we just not responding? Is that your idea of a conversation? Did you not notice that you made a point and John made a counterpoint? This is how conversations work. Do you just want to come preach to us and for us to be silent? Like, what do you expect? How did you think this is going to go? Did you think that you're going to come on this call and you're just going to lecture us and we're just going to sit down and be like, yep, and then next call?
Well, is that what you're doing to me? There's two of you lecturing to me. So what are you trying to say?
I'm not gonna lecture you. I'm gonna ask you a question. May I ask you a question?
No, I'm not done with our other question. Why should we keep going into something different?
All right.
You can't even answer.
I asked permission, Larry. I asked permission to ask a question. If you want to continue making your point,
permission to answer what I want to say.
I am doing what you want. You saying that you want to continue to make the point, and I'm going to say, okay, given that you don't want me to ask a question, I'm going to let you finish your point. At some point, allow me to ask a question. Okay, Larry? Is that okay? Does that work with you?
Yes.
Okay, make your point. No problem. Make your point, and then when you give me a time to ask my question. Go on, finish your point.
Okay. We only mention the word in Exodus 21:2. And so far we can have either servant or slave. So let's read a little further. Why don't you go down to Exodus 16 and tell me what it says?
I know where you're going with this. So Exodus 21:16, whoever kidnaps a person,
okay, you know where you're going with this.
Oh,
really.
Fucking Christ, dude. You just asked me to read it and I'm reading it.
Larry,
Jesus.
Let him do what you're trying to. We're dancing to your tune, and even then you're not satisfied. You ask him a question, let him do that for you. Like you're interrupting him now. Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay, so Exodus 21:16, whoever kidnaps a person, whether that person be sold or is still held in possession, shall be put to death. So this is not concerning like the slavery that we're talking about. Like as far as like Exodus 21:2 goes, you may buy a male Hebrew slave. That's not the Hebrew has been stolen or kidnapped and then sold into slavery. That would be illegal, obviously, per verse 16 there. This is what the Hebrew slaves selling themselves into slavery, that like a debt slave kind of situation right there. 16 is talking about more of that who's that guy with the multicolored coat who gets kidnapped by his brothers and sold into slavery into another nation? So like you can't steal, kidnap somebody within the Hebrew nation and then sell them as like a foreign slave, to other Hebrews. So I mean that's all that's talking about. That has no that has no bearing on like legitimate slavery that was condoned and commanded by God.
Are you done?
That's why I stopped talking.
I asked you to read Exodus 21:16. I didn't ask for your opinion.
Right.
Larry, do you think that you're Larry? Hold on. Larry, do you think that we're just supposed to sit here and you instruct us on what to do, and then we have to just follow your command? Is this what you think this is going to be like? So John was supposed, you asked him to read him, and John was supposed to do exactly as you asked him and do nothing else. He was supposed to read it because you asked him to, and if he wanted to respond to what you were trying to do, he made a mistake because he didn't follow your exact command. Are you seriously trying to control? Did you seriously think you could come here and tell us to do exactly what you want, and we're going to do it? Is this your show, Larry?
Did you not ask people to phone in and ask you and talk to you?
We asked for a conversation. We didn't ask you to come here and tell us what to do, and you expecting us to just follow your commands.
Yeah, Larry, this is not a you're going to talk at us situation. This is like a conversation that we're having. And I mean, I feel like basically you just responded with, I didn't ask for your fucking opinion on the verse. I mean, I have an opinion on the verse. I know exactly where you're going with it. You're going to tell me if I'm wrong, Larry, but you're going to claim that verse 16 says that you can't kidnap a person. So therefore, God has outlawed slavery because in your very myopic view of what slavery is, especially in the Bible, is like supposedly kidnapping a person and selling them into slavery, when that's not the only way in which people were forced into slavery. There were prisoners of war that were forced into slavery. There were also Hebrews that sold themselves into slavery. And also the Israelites could purchase slaves from the surrounding countries, like the surrounding people groups. So like however they forced people into slavery, they were able to buy those people. So like there's just simply no situation here where you're going to come out on top, right? Like, I know your apologetic, like, talking points. I know everything that you're going to say about it. So that's why I'm trying to jump ahead in the conversation, because you're being really fucking pedantic in this conversation about fucking everything. So I figured I'd just remove some of the speed bumps in our conversation. Maybe we can close out this conversation quick, because we've got a call list that's filling up right now.
So can I read the verse myself to you?
Yeah, that's very productive. Just go ahead and read the verse that was just read already by John.
Do you work for Doge? Is that what this is?
Yeah, Larry, this is a very great use of your time. Just go ahead and read the verse that was already read one more time. I'm sure that's people are going to get the. Yeah, go ahead. Do you want me to ask my question now? Because I have a question that will resolve all of this.
I'm not done yet. No, well, you can hang up on me. You can that'll resolve it if you want. That's your choice, I guess. Okay,
yeah, that is our
verse
choice.
16. He says, he that steals a man, he shall surely be put to death. That's what slavery is. All of the people that came from Africa were brought to USA in chains and that, locked up, and all the people in the southern USA loved slaves. They thought it was great to have slaves. God has never said that, ever. You're just reading.
That's not slavery. That's that it bans abducting free people to sell them. It does not ban slavery. The same chapter regulates slavery. The same chapter talks about selling people. Selling people doesn't make them servants. It makes them to slaves. The same chapter talks about beating people that you have in chains. It regulates how to sell them, who to sell, not to sell. This is about this bans abducting people who are already free. This is not about slavery.
Okay, you say you read that Bible. Do you read the Bible? Do you know what it says in Exodus?
Yes. Yes, we're literally reading it to you. Actually, it's getting read twice to the audience because you pedantically want to read from your version, because your version, you think, actually substantiates your claim, but you're not actually substantiating anything. I do want to point out that you can call me Nostradamus from now on, because the thing that I said prior to you saying it is the exact thing that you did. So, like, I know exactly where you're coming from. And you're not making any kind of new point. You're not making any kind of like revelatory thing, because we've heard all of this shit before. It does not prohibit slavery. It just prohibits kidnapping somebody to sell them into slavery. That's all it does. There's more forms of slavery out there, and you did the exact thing again. What I said that you were going to do, and is that you were going to compare it to antebellum South slavery, the Atlantic slave trade. So, like, yeah, you have a myopic view of what it means to have slaves or to own slaves or whatever, and I get that, but your myopic view doesn't represent what slavery was in the ancient world. And I think that you need to like widen your mind about that. And we'll leave that right there. But I know Armin was wanting to ask you a question, so I'm going to cede my time to Armin.
No, I just have one question. Larry, can you buy and sell servants? Just tell me that. Can you buy and sell servants? If you're saying there's a difference between servants and slaves, is somebody that you buy and sell a servant or a slave?
Yes. Servant.
You can buy and sell
go in. A servant goes in England, goes to somebody who's rich, and they sell their service to them. They live in their house and they take care of them.
No. Not sell yourself. I'm talking about the master selling a servant to another master, buying and trading them. Because that's what the Bible is talking about. You're saying this is referring to servants. I'm saying these are people who are being bought and sold against their will by other people according to how the Bible is describing this. Do you think that is a servant or a slave based on what we know about slavery?
A master is a person who is in charge of his servants, isn't he? Yes or no?
I'm talking about master of slaves. I'm talking if an individual, don't do word tricks with me, okay? Forget master, forget slave, forget servants, okay? If an individual has somebody in their service and he gets to sell that person to another person so that person is now in their service, without their choice, it's my decision. I get money. I give this person. Now this person is in their service. Is that person a servant or a slave?
He's a servant because the servant has a choice whether he wants to do it or not. No. The master doesn't. God never says that the master in any.
Larry, if you read Exodus, you can see there is no choice involved. In fact, there is beating involved in case they are disobeying their master. There's regulations for how to beat these people if they're disobeying. If it was their choice, there would be no beating involved. What servant is like, yes, master, I have not served you well. Beat the shit out of me. Just be careful that I don't die. I am willingly submitting to being beaten because I can see that my work has not been very good. Like it hasn't met the standards that is required. So beat the shit out of me, but just be careful that I don't die. That's a servant to you? I mean, okay, you know what? Well, fine, we use your language. We use your language. That's a servant, but that in that category of servants, we condemn that as much as we condemn slavery. How about that? If you're in your vocabulary that is referred to as a servant, then that category of servants is as evil as what we refer to as slavery. If you want to play language games with us.
Yelling and screaming at me and interrupting me and doing all this, a conversation with another person? Is that what you call a conversation with another person?
Yeah, no, Larry. A conversation is you to call in on the show and tell us exactly what to do, and we have to follow every single one of your commands. And if we do anything else, all of a sudden it's not a conversation. It's not fair to you. We just have to. I think like you it seems like you seem to want to have a master-slave relationship in this call with us, but that's not how it's going to work. We actually get to talk back here, okay? And this is our show. You don't get to tell us how to manage it. I don't understand. Maybe Larry. Maybe how about this? How about you go and start your own call-in show, and then we will call in, and then you get to tell us what to do exactly. How about that?
Why don't you say that honestly on your show and just say, if you want to phone in and answer the way you want me to answer you, then you'll listen.
We're listening, Larry. We're listening. We're listening, and you're making no sense. I mean, do you think that we didn't give you your chance to make your point? You have made your point. Everybody understands your point. It's just that your point is nonsensical. You're just trying to play a language game. People understand what slavery is. It's not a mistranslation. The description of what is happening there, everybody understands that this is a master-slave relationship. There's physical punishments involved. There is selling involved. There's lack of consent involved. Everybody looking at reading the chapter, everybody understands this is not a mistranslation. This is obviously a master-slave relationship that is being described here. And you want to be like, well, this is not. If you go look at this word in Hebrew and you can like, oh, I don't care. It's describing the relationship. That is slavery. We understand that as slavery. So you say we don't let you make your point. Everybody has heard your point. Like, do you have anything in addition to the points that you're making? Because I think that was the entirety of your argument. The entirety of your argument is that this is not the correct translation. So where did we stop you from making that point?
Do you really ever play back what you guys say? Really?
Yes, and I'm actually very proud of myself right now.
Yeah, Larry, I think that we're just going to let you go because there's way too much meta talk here about the conversation and instead of like the topic going on. And I just feel like you came on so that you could like preach at us or like talk at us rather than talk to us because you seem to not want to hear like the reasons why everything that you're saying is just factually wrong. So, we're saying bye. You're disconnected. I don't know if he disconnected or we disconnected, but this is not a show where you get to call in and talk at us. You get to talk with us and have a conversation.
Oh no, I'm being oppressed, Larry. This is what you sound like. I'm being oppressed. I'm a Christian. Look at these people being mean to Christians. This is the victimhood complex that I think Christians have. I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. We do have, before we get to our next caller, we do have a couple of announcements to go through.
Yeah. Can I just say
now,
something? I really try to have like really nice conversations with people. Okay, like it's not about people being theists or Christians or Muslims. Like we have had some really decent conversations with people who disagree here. But when somebody comes and tries to lecture John about how he's supposed to behave and like this is not a person serious about a conversation. Like I don't want to be mean to a caller here, but if you try to take control over the show, this is not going to be a serious conversation. I can tell. But go on, sorry,
I asked you to read the verse, not give me your opinion. All right, so just so that everybody knows, we now have a channel that's going to house all of the shows of the ACA in audio podcast form. You can visit tiny.cc/AEN podcasts. There you can listen to all of the latest shows from the Atheist Experience, Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, and the Nonprofits and others on one channel. Another way to support us is by sending us super chats, and we'll read them live on the air. So feel free to make us read things that you've written, assuming that they are YouTube appropriate. And the ACA wants you to know what is going on in our community. So head on over to www.atheist-community.org, where you can learn about the organization itself, its policies, and how to get involved. And we want to send out a big thank you to the crew and everybody that helps put the show together every single week. All the video operators, audio operators, note takers, call screeners, chat moderators, and everybody. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are making everything go swimmingly here, and so that we don't have to be talked at by latent preachers. Anyways, so that's it for the announcements right now. But do you want to get to another caller there, Armin?
Yes. Sorry, John. I know I should I intervened too much. You're the main host.
You're fine.
I should let you lead. Okay.
No. You were fine. I was cracking up. I don't know if you saw me, but I was cracking up the entire time.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I think that we're going to go to Oblivious over there in California. What up there, Oblivious?
Hello.
Hi. How you doing?
Hello. Hey, I'm doing wonderful.
Hello.
Thank you for asking. Can you hear me?
So what do you want to talk about? Yeah, we got you. There's just a little bit of a delay. What do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about why people cannot deny the belief in God.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, so
I will deny him right in front of you, but go on.
Can you kind of make your argument?
A rational person definitely denies the belief in God, but people cannot deny the belief in God.
I'm sorry.
A non-rational person is not a person?
No, a non-rational person is a person. Yeah. I'm saying a rational person it's normal to deny the belief in God, a rational person. But all people cannot deny the belief in God. Now, God, for me, the definition of God for me is the conscious explanation and answer for all things. So whenever I say God, this is what I mean.
I want to congratulate you. That's very good, because usually people don't define what they mean by God. So I appreciate you doing that. Okay. So that's very nice that you did that. But can you explain, John, I think I'm a little bit confused about the claim here, though, even though I appreciate you defining God. Are you saying rational? Nobody can deny the existence of God, and then you said rational people
correct
do or do, huh?
do rational people do deny the existence of God in their conscious mind?
Isn't that
What else can we do?
Could you no? So this is not an argument; these are statements, right? So can you actually make an argument? Yeah, it is. But I want to hear the argument for how I can't deny God or deny the belief in God. Okay. Like I guess I just don't understand your argument here.
I don't even understand the claim, let alone the argument.
First of all, I gave you my explanation, my definition of God. Now I say that no, I cannot explain, fathom, comprehend, or understand God.
Okay, so a personal incredulity argument. It's basically God of the gaps. So God of the gaps is how you're going to argue for God's existence?
So you don't know what you're talking about, basically.
To understand God is an irrational thought because nobody can understand the conscious explanation and answer for everything.
Is this Jordan Peterson we're talking to? Like,
wait, no, this is Oblivious. Oblivious. I got my name by walking on the Pacific Crest Trail and taking the wrong turn many times. That's how I got the name Oblivious. Okay.
Oblivious, can you, first of all, so you define God and now you're saying you can't understand God, okay? But correct. You understand it enough, at least, to say that it's a conscious creator of everything? Is that, at least, can we say that about, is that a correct description of God? Yes.
Okay, so we have so I don't know if God created everything. I don't know because I cannot explain God, fathom God, comprehend God, or understand God.
We got that part. We got that part. You don't need to repeat the part. So you understand that God is conscious, but there's nothing beyond that you understand. Is there anything beyond that? So that's the only thing that you have from God. It's conscious.
We are conscious. You and I are conscious. Everything is conscious. Without consciousness, we have nothing.
I didn't. That's not my question. That is not at all my question. That is not my question. Can you tell me anything about God? Can you tell me anything about God? Sorry, Oblivious. I'm trying to stick to the point.
Can I tell you anything about God? God is the conscious explanation and answer for all things. That's what I can tell you about God.
What does that mean?
So let me ask you this as a way of getting to some kind of coherent thought here. How does God explain rain? Let's start with something easy. How does he explain rain?
How does God explain rain? How could I even understand how God explains rain? I can't.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You said that God is the explanation for everything, and now you're being like, "Oh, well, I don't know how God explains rain." I'm sorry. If you're going to say that He's the explanation for everything, then I mean, you should be able to point out how God explains rain.
Can you tell us what that means when you Oblivious? Can you tell us when you say God is the conscious explanation for everything? Can you tell us what does that mean?
Yes, I can.
Tell us what does that mean?
What that means is, just what I said. This is not.
I don't understand. Okay, we're not. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't understand what that sentence means. Okay, so you need to explain it in a different way.
But I am trying to explain why people can't deny their belief in God. I'm trying to explain.
No. I ask you a question. Oblivious. Sorry. Can you answer this question, please? When you said God is the conscious explanation for everything. Okay. This sentence, I don't understand it. When you say God is the conscious explanation for everything, I have no idea what that means. Okay. Help me out. Tell me what that means.
I cannot.
Okay, so what am I supposed to do?
Is it?
No, okay, no. Put yourself in my position. You told me a sentence that I'm supposed to evaluate whether it's true or not. I don't understand it, and you cannot explain to me what it means. So, do you understand that I cannot do anything? Like this is like I can't do anything with that. Huh?
I cannot explain God to anybody. I can't do it. That's the only.
Okay,
Okay, this conversation is pointless.
No, let me. I think I could make it a little bit more oblivious. Do you believe in I don't know, Fitma? Do you believe in Fitma?
I'm not sure what I couldn't understand what you said. What are you saying? What is the word?
Do you believe in Fitma? Do you believe in or do you deny Fitma?
I don't know what Sigma is.
I cannot explain that to you. There's no way for me to explain to you what that is, okay? But I want you to believe in it. And there's no way I could explain to you what that is. And I'm going to claim that there's nobody can deny its existence. And I have no way of communicating to you what it represents or what it means, okay? Would you believe in it, even without any explanation from me about what it is?
No, obviously not. Obviously not.
Okay, so that's what. Okay, good, great.
Sigma,
So that's the position that we're in.
Is Sigma the same definition of God that I'm giving you?
No, but your explanation is something that we don't understand. So imagine I told you something that in the definition of Fitma that you couldn't even understand what it means, right? So you gave us a definition that we don't understand and you can't even explain it to us. So for Fitma, imagine if I defined it in a way and you're like, well, I didn't understand what you just said. I'm like, well, that's all I could give you. So you see the position that we're in, that would be the same position you would be with Fitma. So you're putting us in the same position with your God that I'm putting you with Fitma.
What you're trying to do is trying to make me put God into a box, and I don't have a box for God.
No. Okay, so hold on. Let me interject right here. Okay, you've basically claimed that God is this concept that you have, and there's no way for you to understand God. There's no way for you to explain how God factors into reality. There's nothing that you can tell us about God other than your meaningless statement that you've already given us. There's no way for us to actually intellectually interact with this because you're presenting an unfalsifiable statement that we're just supposed to accept as true, as like without any kind of like intellectual consideration. So that makes this entire conversation so far pointless, and it makes it very pointless for us to even interact with your claims here because you're not actually making any kind of arguments. You're just talking at us and telling us, well, this is God and this is why you should believe, and without being able to actually verify that this actually is God or that this God actually exists. Can you give us a concrete way that we can know for ourselves that God actually exists beyond you just stating it?
I never said that I was trying to get you guys to believe that God exists. I told you that I am on here to say why people cannot deny belief in God, which is a completely different thing than whether or not God.
I agree. Actually, I agree. We cannot deny the existence of something that we don't even know what you're talking about. All right. So if we don't even know what you're talking about, then we cannot deny it. So that's true, huh? But this is a pointless conversation. Of course we cannot deny. Like there's infinite things like that we cannot deny if we don't know what the fuck they are. Right? So you're saying you want me you're telling, oh, you guys want me to put God in a box, okay? Well, your understanding of putting something in a box is our understanding of knowing what we're talking about. So when you say put in a box, it means that differentiating it from everything else. And if you don't differentiate what you're talking about from everything else, then we're technically talking about either nothing at all or everything.
It is a fool's errand to try to prove God, and that's what you want me to do. I want to prove to you.
Yes, I agree. But your God is not. It is true. It's true.
There is no person that can deny belief in God.
What does that mean? Jesus Christ. I don't know what that means, that nobody can deny the belief in God. Like, I have no idea how that actually practically relates to my life. Can you tell me how that's supposed to apply to my life, or how I'm supposed to apply this, like not being able to deny belief in God? What does that mean for me?
I don't care if you apply it to your life. I don't care.
Yeah.
Why should I care if you apply it to your life?
You don't care that you don't care. Then why are you calling? Like, how? If you don't care, then why the hell are you calling? I mean, technically, Oblivious, you cannot deny the existence of my fitza, okay? And we don't care if you believe in it or you don't believe in it. If you deny it, like, this is a pointless conversation. I mean, I think John was correct. This was pointless. You're talking about nothing at all.
Yeah, I think that we're done here, Oblivious, because it's hard to talk to somebody that's this oblivious to how like statements and claims work in this particular conversation. So we're just going to go ahead and drop you right now, and I hope that you call back in with something more substantial in the future. You know, I mean, it's hard to have a conversation with someone that just wants to make a statement and then poof out of there. You know.
It's like, hey, I want to talk about whether or not we can deny this. Okay, what is this? You want me to put it in a box? I will refuse to put it in a box. Like, oh, what the hell? Like,
you know, the weird thing is that he put it in a box initially, and he's angry that we want to either redefine the box that he's already done, or we want to understand more about the box that he's built. Right?
Like, you're right. You're right. He did put it in a box. We just didn't understand what is the box. Like, he put it in a box by defining something means you put it in a box, and he did define it. So we just didn't understand the box. So, but you did. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He did do that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we do have way more callers lined up, which apparently the theme today is biblical slavery. Are you ready to talk about some more biblical slavery?
Yes. I'm just amazed that, thousands of years of theism, and this is how far we've gotten to people discussing their existence of God. Like, I thought like they would have so much better stuff by now. This is insane. But yeah.
I mean, Armin, like when you throw all of your quote unquote evidence at, somebody to try to get them to believe in your God, and like nothing sticks, you ultimately just have to resolve to, well, you just got to believe, or, just basically stating that he exists without, needing to actually prove that he exists. So, all right. I think that we're going to go to Steve over there in Nebraska. What's up there, Steve? How you doing?
Yeah. Hey, John and Armin, thanks for taking my call. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I just wanted to let everyone know that biblical slaves weren't just indentured servants, but they were just prisoners of war put to work to keep God's temple intact until Jesus Christ's ultimate sacrifice was made for the redemption of human sin.
No, so where in the New Testament does hold on, Steve, where in the New Testament does Jesus make the mandate that that slavery is no longer okay?
Well, it's based off the fact that when the Hebrews ended slavery, and guess when they ended slavery? They ended it when the temple fell in 70 AD.
When did they end it? Well, I've never heard that. Like
slavery.
If they ended,
yeah,
no, Steve,
that's
hold on.
what I'm here to let you guys know.
No. So, first of all, this is the same problem that we ran into with Larry at the very beginning of this hour of this show. You're not going to come on here and just talk at us. Okay, Steve? Like, that's what it sounds like. Like you saying, I just want to come on here and let you know. That indicates to me that you're not looking for a conversation. You're not looking for actual feedback on your bullshit here. You're just looking to talk at us. Are you here to preach at us there, Steve? Or are you here to have a fucking conversation?
Oh, I'd like to have a conversation. You guys say your piece. Go ahead. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt.
Okay. I don't know at all where in history the Hebrews have outlawed slavery. That doesn't occur in the Old Testament. That doesn't occur in the New Testament. And in fact, slavery didn't get outlawed until 1,000 or more years later. At least, especially if you're talking about in the United States where we're based, that wasn't outlawed technically until 1865. And even then, you had various pockets where slavery was still being implemented. That's why we have the Juneteenth celebration, because it was much later after the slaves were freed that all slavery was abolished in America. So I mean, I'm just saying that like at no point in history have the Hebrews like done away with slavery, and I would love for you to back that up with some evidence.
Well, because Wikipedia, when did the Hebrews outlaw slavery? That was done in 70 A.D.
No, there was no outlaw of slavery in 70 AD. Where are you getting that from? You're the one making the claim. Support your claim with evidence.
Okay, hold on here. If you give me a few minutes, because I'm going to have that prepared, so maybe I'll have to call back on this.
Are you serious right now? Like, if you're going to call, like, do you is this how your conversations normally go? Like, do you normally enter in a conversation and you just expect people to just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to eat your bullshit up, like without questioning it? Like, is that what you're?
Okay.
Is that your normal
when
experience?
was Hebrew slavery? Hold on, let's put that in here. When was Hebrew slavery ended? We could just do a quick search on
You're
that,
talking
right?
about the destruction.
Not
70 AD, was that? 70 AD, isn't that the destruction of the second temple? Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Because did they stop slavery by having their? Okay, so they were too busy being wiped out and their temple destroyed to be getting around each other and destroy. And I just looked it up. No, their slavery, Hebrews were practicing slavery way after that. But at 70 AD,
the rabbinic error. It says right here the ribbon. Okay. You guys say your piece, and then please give me a chance after. Go ahead.
Okay, so slavery was still so I'm checking this up right now. Slavery was still practiced in Jewish communities. Jewish law continued to regulate slavery for centuries. The Talmud, which was compiled later, still includes discussion on slave laws. I mean, you're talking about rabbinic. The Talmud the rabbis were responsible for the Talmud, right? Roman rule, not Jewish law. After 70 AD, Jews were under Roman control, and Rome allowed slavery. The Jewish community had no power to outlaw it anyways. Slavery existed in Jewish law. Rabbinic Judaism continued to permit indentured servitude for Jews and permanent slavery for non-Jews based on biblical laws. A gradual decline, there was not an outright ban. Jewish slavery declined over time due to social and economic changes, not because of a specific ban in 70 AD. It wasn't formally abolished until much later, influenced by broader global movements. So there you go.
Okay, so my information is that Hebrew slavery was prohibited during the Rabbinic, it's spelled Rabbinic era, for as long as the temple in Jerusalem is defunct, since 70 CE. That's what part of AI, my AI chatbot's telling me.
Okay, so we're having a conversation with ChatGPT. Then we're not having a conversation with you. Do you get all your information from ChatGPT?
A good portion of it, not all. I get, I look at science.
What was the prompt?
Articles,
what was the specific prompt? Because you could. What was the specific prompt that you gave it?
Okay. When was Hebrew slavery outlawed?
Let me see.
And I'm using Google AI overview.
Oh my God.
So I'm getting a different answer from you.
Well, my AI overview says Hebrew slavery, which involved Israelites serving
I'm not getting
Israelite
the same answer
period
as
of
you.
6 years, was largely obsolete after the destruction of the first Israelite Commonwealth around 6 BCE and was not prohibited.
So
maybe I misread it. Hold on, I could be wrong, guys. And
Okay, that's
not
good. That's good.
prohibited the next there. Did I miss a word? I might have missed a word in reading that. Okay. My bad.
Okay, well that's great.
Okay.
No, Steve, that's
Yeah,
amazing. No, this is amazing. I want to admire the fact that you realize that you're openly admitting that you made a mistake. That's very nice. I appreciate that. But go on, John. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say that, like, I work off of the data, and the data is what is contained in the Bible, right? And in the Bible, there is no prohibition on slavery either mentioned by Jesus or in the Hebrew Bible. So, as far as you're concerned, like, what do you think God's stance is on biblical slaves?
Well, I think that the biblical slaves were prisoners of war that put to work to keep the temple
And that makes them okay.
So,
Does it? So for you, if America was to go into the Middle East, attack countries in the Middle East, and capture prisoners of war over there, and then force them into slave labor, would that be a good thing to do?
Well, they didn't have Geneva Convention. They didn't have war camps for prisoners back then, and the temple was.
That's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking you.
Tribes. This isn't me. This is about God's temple. It's not about me. And by the way, they had a chance.
No, I'm not saying no. I'm asking you. Hold on, Steve. I'm asking you not about what the modern prohibitions on certain actions in wartime. I'm asking you about your holy book. I'm assuming that you're a Christian. Your holy book, what it says about taking slaves. So in your mind here, it seems to me like what's being communicated is that it's okay to force people into slavery as long as they're prisoners of war. Is that correct?
Well, the prisoners of war that back in that time, they didn't have. So they couldn't build.
Is God,
them like they can now.
Is God limited?
Right?
Hold on, Steve. Is God limited by the time and place that he is existing in that we exist in at a certain moment in time? Like, is God limited in that way, or is God all powerful?
There is no omni-God. That's just a logical contradiction. I mean, I could just say there's no omni or benevolent God. I could just, in just 2 words, childhood cancer. I mean, I can debunk that. I mean, you guys think that there's just all benevolent, all good, all knowing, powerful.
I don't think that.
God.
We don't think that. Christians think that.
Excuse me, not you guys. No. I'm sorry. There's some fellow Christians that I know think that.
So Steve doesn't believe in the triumphant God, apparently, which is actually a more biblically accurate version of God, to be honest, because the triumphant God comes from Plato. Doesn't come from the Bible. Go on.
Okay, I skimmed the Bible a while ago, so maybe I'm not right on this, but it's been a while since I read the Bible. But I think there's something about where it says in the book of maybe Exodus that God is the creator of all calamity, right?
Right.
Say that somewhere in there.
I'm sorry. We're just trying to figure out what your view of God is here. And like, you're wanting to say that biblical slaves weren't really slaves, that they were rather indentured servants, or they were prisoners of war. And I'm trying to get a sense of whether or not you think it's okay to force prisoners of war into slave labor. Like,
he doesn't believe that all is. I don't think he believes all. Steve, is it? Am I understanding you correctly? You don't believe that God is all loving, all powerful, and all knowing. Is that my understanding of your view?
He's not. He can't be an all omni. That's logic.
Okay, well, that's interesting because so you cannot get Steve by saying like your God did it wrong because his God is not all powerful. So. That's very interesting. This is the first time I'm talking to
he's not. He's not. I don't want to say he's very powerful, or they. I mean, the Elohim are very powerful, but they're not. They can't do. Everything all at one time necessarily. I don't know that.
This is very interesting because Steve's God is actually more. Aligned with actually the Bible, because if you actually read the Bible, God is not all powerful, right? He's limited. It's like Plato's the Greek influence on the Catholic Church later on made these ideas that God is like fully all powerful, all loving, the triumny. Like, and so Steve is actually, I think Steve is reading the Bible, and he's coming up with a more accurate biblical God compared to most Christians that are reading the Bible. Okay, but Steve, that's very interesting. But however, why do you believe in this God? That's very interesting. I mean, you don't have to.
Well,
you don't have to. Nobody could get you with the problem of evil, because the problem of evil only applies to a all powerful and all loving God, right? So you're not contradicting yourself by believing in a God that is not all powerful. But how come you believe in such a thing?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to give you a definition of what I believe to be God. I believe God is technologically advanced, extraterrestrial intelligence, and we have evidence of this. A recently published paper titled "A Spider-Stellar Engine, a Fully Steerable Extraterrestrial Design," authored by Dr. Clement Vidal, claims that binary star system PSRJ 1641-8 8049, which consists of a millisecond pulsar of lower mass companion stars, deaccelerating due to artificially generated force, perhaps by magnetically charged Dyson ring or magnetic cell around the orbital plane of the pulsar.
Steve, why? I'm really confused at this point. We started out talking about the biblical slavery thing, and now you're shifting to extraterrestrial bullshit. What? What was your point in calling in? If you don't believe in the biblical version of God, you don't believe in the Bible. What was the point in calling in? Like, are you wanting to disagree with what the Hebrew says, like in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, or like? I guess I just don't understand the point of your call if you believe in fucking Xenu.
Well, I do believe I am a theist. I believe in God, just not traditional, not just in a traditional sense, other way other people believe. And I do believe that there is
you believe gods came from other planets? You gods are aliens?
Well, I believe technologically advanced civilizations have influenced, have interacted with the ancient people. I do believe in the ancient aliens. I believe in some aspects of a religion called realism. You ever heard of that? Realism?
Wait, did you just say ancient aliens? Jesus Christ! We're fucking getting the weird ones out of the woodwork today, huh? I mean, I'm sorry, Steve. I don't mean to call you weird, but I mean that's a weird belief, right? Like, how does this relate to biblical slavery? Like, what? I'm still confused.
I mean, Steve is trying, to be honest. Like, I admire that he's trying. I mean, it's kind of out there, but like, I think he's ready. Like, he's being skeptical. Like, let's give him a chance, okay? Steve, like, can you give us an evidence that God is like this? These things that you just mentioned, they are like, and also don't give us. We haven't looked up all this. Like, you just gave us a whole bunch of words that we don't understand because we haven't read the material that you have read. For some people who might not be as familiar with the things that you're referring to as evidence, can you dumb it down for us and tell us what evidence that you have for such a thing existing and
sure.
This technological.
Okay.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Okay, so. A pulsar companion star have been observed slowing down in open space, which just doesn't happen without a force counteracting this. Because in space, an object in motion will remain in motion unless there's a force acting upon it. Well, there is no natural force of slowing this down. It has to be artificially generated force.
I think that's logic there.
You can research this. You can research this in a paper called the Spider-Stellar Engine, a Fully Steerable Extraterrestrial Design. And then we have more, not just this, but we have other technological signatures of advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. And there is this fast radio burst signal, FRB 2024-0209A, that apparently artificially generated beings are being used to generate this signal to propel ancient alien starships light cells rather than these FRB-like signals coming from a magnetar or any other natural object like collapsing.
Okay, sorry, Steve, I might have to stop you. There's a number of logical leaps in here because like you're making statements about things and then you're jumping to the alien explanation, claiming that the alien explanation is the only explanation that's available. We simply just could not know what any of those things are. I haven't read the paper that you're talking about, some kind of spider constellation engine or something or another. I don't know, maybe it was Xenu's like car. But I mean, I'm still confused, like as to how you even, why you're even defending biblical slavery in this. It's perplexing to me. I don't know, maybe Armin has a better grasp on this than I do.
No, I'm trying to look at the paper that he's talking about to figure out what the hell this is, because to me, it sounds like it's just a whole bunch of words that I need to be more familiar with what he's talking about to be able to evaluate it. So, I mean, because you're just dumping a whole bunch of words on us, and we have to actually have looked into this for us to understand what you mean. I asked you to simplify what you've studied in a way that somebody who hasn't studied what you have studied could understand, and you didn't do that.
Okay, so there's this pulsar, and its stellar wind is being redirected in order to reduce the irradiation of the pulsar's companion star, thereby resulting in the reduction of this system's propellant thrust, thereby slowing down the travel velocity of the star system. And it's on approach towards a close encounter with another star, purposed for replenishing the energy resources of this binary star system, PSRJ-1641-8049.
You're not helping.
I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this. It seems like it's just relying on unknown forces that is just filling out. Like the whole thing seems to be an appeal to ignorance. So, I mean, to me, it seems like something is moving in a direction or in a way that cannot be explained based on the known forces that are being seen, and it's filling the gap with that ignorance with aliens. Very technologically advanced aliens that are moving stars or something, which they're more easily,
right,
the best explanation
is, right.
Yeah, so the easier explanation is like we didn't detect all the forces influencing this. Like you understand that people who are observing space cannot detect there are so many things that are influencing each other that are not all of it is being detected or explained at once. We have this whole thing called dark matter because to fill in a whole bunch of movements that we could not explain. So there's a lot of things that we don't understand. Just it seems like answering this unknown with a more complicated answer doesn't solve this problem. It actually makes a problem more complex. So you're seeing some movements that you cannot explain, and instead of addressing this with we don't know or a more simplified explanation, you answer it with an even more complicated question. Stars are being moved around because of advanced aliens, instead of just saying we don't know why this is moving in this direction. That seems like a huge leap.
Well, isn't it awfully peculiar that this is slowing down towards another star with a close encounter with another star? Isn't that?
Well, yeah, but what we're saying, Steve, what we're saying is that there's a leap in your conclusion there. Like you're not supporting the alien hypothesis with any kind of evidence. It's just stating that it's aliens with no consideration of any other possible explanations. And the I don't know explanation, like we just simply don't know what's causing this, is more honest and more representative of our current knowledge set. Jumping to aliens is uncalled for in this situation. That's what we're trying to explain to you.
This is all completely theoretical. Do you understand? Like the paper that you're talking is completely theoretical, right? It has there's no practical method to. There's no methodology here. It's just basically, couch philosophy. Like, oh, what if, like, oh, we don't know how this is moving. What if aliens? That's basically the entirety of this paper. There's no evidence offered.
Well, it provides the only explanation for an observed phenomenon. that's occurring. I mean,
it hasn't exhausted every other possibility.
Well, this is a pulsar moving in open space. There's no other way it can slow down unless there's an artificially
no other force that has been detected yet. You understand? You're talking about so many things so far away. There are so many ways that this is naturally could be happening without aliens that you just have that hasn't been detected. Not all forces in space is detected.
Well, we do have to observe this more. I think it's warranted. There is a possibility, I should have brought this up, but there could be a measurement error involved in this, too. I mean,
it's obviously a possibility. Everything is a possibility, but it shouldn't be taken seriously. That's the point. Because it provides, it's just an ignorance that is filled with just a fantastical, like, imaginary solution without any evidence. I mean, I could have easily just say, like, what if, like, Newtonian and modern physics is all wrong, and that's why? How about that? I just threw that out there. What if like the laws of physics are wrong, for example, and that's why it's moving in that direction?
Well, dark energy is just an illusion of gravitational time dilation. So dark energy is probably not even
a different topic.
It's just a period.
Okay, Steve, we're really moving off of the topic that you originally called in for, and so I mean we've interacted on the whole alien God thing for a bit, but I think that we need to move on to other callers. Okay.
Yeah, but thank you, Steve. I appreciate the fact that you're willing to consider that maybe you're wrong, and also you admitted being wrong about something. So I admire that. So thank you for that.
All right. Thank you, guys. Talk to you later.
All right. See you, Steve. Bye. All right. We're getting through these callers. We had a lot of people calling in. So you ready to jump to the next one?
Yes. Also, John, if I ever talk too much, feel free to be like, no, Armin, let me say something. Okay? I wouldn't get rude. I wouldn't feel it's rude, or I wouldn't get offended. Okay, just tell me to shut up when you need to. Okay. So,
okay, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you.
But we're going to talk to Simon from Georgia.
Yes, hello.
Is this Simeon?
Yes, it's Simeon. I actually spoke to Armin and I believe Justin last time I was on.
Okay. So the notes here say that you can defend the God of the Bible as a loving God. I'd love to hear your argument for that.
Yeah, I mean, we see provides a way of redemption for the sinful nature of man. We see that God loves people. He loves creation. He's active in creation. He's not distant in the sense of not being a part of his work. And I think that provides. Okay. I think that shows evidence that he's loving. And of course, we can talk about different objections that people have. The genocide or whatever, or slavery and.
Yeah, explain how is genocide loving? Would you call me loving if I ordered the genocide of an entire people group?
Yeah, good question. So, I mean, I would say that it's important that we not ask questions like that, because first, we're fallible people, you know what I'm saying? So
wait, whoa. No. I literally just asked you the question, and then you're like, it's not really important for us to ask questions that contradict the bullshit that I'm spitting. You literally just said we shouldn't ask these kinds of questions. I feel like these are the basic fucking questions that we should ask about this particular topic, right?
You said it was a good
question. Well, maybe I misspoke. Maybe I should have said it a different way. I was trying to say we need to be careful when we ask those type of questions, because first we have to understand the difference between us and God. And I was starting to say, if we are
no. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to interrupt you. I got to interrupt you because I think that's a total bullshit line to pull here, because you're basically saying that, oh, we can't question God in this respect because we're just lowly humans. I can, in fact, question God. I question everything about the biblical version of God. I definitely question whether or not he's a loving God because of the actions that he commands in the Old Testament and in the New Testament. So don't give me this bullshit about how we have to be careful about asking these questions because God is so much greater than us. He's not. The character in the Bible is not better than anybody that's alive now. In fact, I would say most everybody now is probably better than the God of the Bible. So let's just go ahead and ask the question, does a loving person call for the genocide of an entire people group to include small children and babies?
Yes.
Yes? How is that loving?
Okay. All right. So it's simple. If God, right, let's say that the biblical God exists, right? Like let's say, okay, like let's just appease, let's say, okay, let's listen and say, okay, well, the God of the Bible is real. It says that the God of the Bible is the author of life, right? He created us, right? He has ownership over everything, right? So why would he not be able to have the final say? And
No. So this is, I mean, I feel like you just simply don't understand what it means to be loving. Like we're talking about a supposed attribute of God, right? That he's loving. We can all conceptualize what it means to be loving. Now, whether or not God has the ability to end us is different from whether or not him taking that action of ending us is an action of a loving God. We can, those are two separate things there. So like God calling for or causing the destruction of an entire people group, that directly means that he is not loving, especially when that people group hasn't done anything to either him or his chosen people. So like the basic character trait of being loving is something that's separate from what you're talking about here. Go ahead, Armin.
Okay, Simon, is your argument that because God created, like, is this your argument? God created us, so God owns us, so God has the right to do anything to us. Is that your point?
Well, not just that. I mean, just like, wait, who's the other gentleman on the line? What's your name?
Armin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, just like he said, I mean, he said, well, I mean, if human beings did nothing wrong, that's the issue that you keep running into. The Bible says that people are sinful, that people deserve punishment. No. So it's not that people are innocent.
No, people don't deserve. I don't know what you mean. No, I don't know what you mean by that.
So the way people are so if people are sinful, okay, let's like think about one of these sins, okay? Like, for example, let's say they don't worship God. That's a sin, right?
Okay.
Simon? Okay.
Yes.
So you're saying your point is God, like, let's say, for example, God created me and God loves me. And God created me, and because he created me, he owns me. And because he owns me, he has the right to do with whatever he wants to my life. So he has that right because I am his property. Given that he created me, he has every right over me. And I don't worship him. And he also knew when he created me that I'm not going to worship him. But he created me anyways. And he also created hell, right? And he loves me, and he created me knowing that I'm not going to worship him, and he's going to send me, he himself is going to send me into this place for me to be tortured with unimaginable pain for a very long time for the sin of not worshiping him, knowing that this will happen. And he did all of that loving me. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. How is that love? Like, can you explain to? Because I'm not getting it, right? So if, for example, if I was in a position of having that much power, I wouldn't do that to any entity for not worshiping me. Like I would try to reduce misery, but how, like maybe we have a different understanding of what love means, but go on.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to how you view sin, right? Us as human beings, of course, and again, people say that all the time. I mean, if I was God, I would have done it this way. Again, it's about how God views sin. If a judge views a crime in a certain way,
tell us. How does? Can I? Okay, so you're saying so you're saying that our view of love is the same. No. But I want to just zoom in on this thing that we don't understand. Can you explain to us what is it about sin that makes this okay? But go on, finish your thought.
Wait. Okay. So no, go ahead. What are you asking me to explain?
I want to understand what is it about sin, the nature of sin, that makes this still loving, right? So you're saying that I did something that even though God loves me, he still tortures me for a long time, knowing that this will happen. And this all makes sense because there's something about the nature of sin that me and John are not understanding here. Okay, can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so sin is described in the Bible as like the transgression of God's law. So the transgression of God's word, right? So, I mean, we see this like with Satan, right? Sin isn't something that is not eternal, right? Sin is I would say the opposite of God's word. Anything contrary to his word is sin, right? So
okay, but perfect example there. So perfect example right there, because I just want to pose this to you. In 1 Samuel 15, 1-3, God commands that the Israelites kill small children. Is that a good thing in your eyes? Since if the Israelites killing small children in those people groups that he identified would be following God's commands, does that make killing small children in those groups good?
Okay, does it make killing small children in the groups good?
Yes.
Let's see. Do I have to think about that? Yes, it's good. Listen, but look, you have to find out why it's
good. My God, dude, no. See, the correct answer, I'm sorry, my note card here has the answer, and it's no, that's not fucking good. In no world could that ever be considered good to kill small children just because they're part of a people group. The correct answer is no, it's not good. So would you like to try again or buy a vowel?
Say again? What did you just say? What was the last part?
I said, would you like to buy a vowel? I'm making a joke about Wheel of Fortune.
So okay, my bad. I didn't understand what you were saying. Yeah, so
I think he is like, I think you're the way that you're looking at this. Let me is that there's me and John's understanding of the world is on a completely different level. Like we are looking at everything from a human perspective and not from a God perspective, right? And you're trying to convince us that the missing piece, if we understand that from a God perspective, the position of sin is so important, like it's so bad that it justifies that amount of torture. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Listen, sin deserves anything that the wages of sin is death. That's what the Bible describes. There you go.
Okay. I don't give a fuck about sin. Sin is just like you said, transgressing God's opinions.
I understand that.
God has opinions, and because God has opinions, if you don't follow what God's opinions are, then you're committing a sin. That means that it's totally devoid of any kind of moral consideration. It's not like a good thing or a bad thing. It's whether or not you're following God, and I just don't see the value in that.
So I have two questions. Can you give me short answers? Short answers.
Yeah, I probably can. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Who created sin?
Sin is not something that can be created. It is the outcome of going against God's word.
Okay. Who gave us the ability
Nobody
to
created sin.
Okay. Who gave us the
Who gave
ability,
us the ability
to sin?
to sin?
Yes.
God.
Okay. So God created us with the ability to sin, knowing that we sin, loves us. He predetermined us to do something so vile that he has no choice but to torture the very things that he loves the most. You want us to believe that?
Say again.
Okay. Here, if sin
I'm
is
sorry.
so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
bad, if sin is so disgusting and bad that if somebody does it, then God has no choice but to torture them in such a vile and disgusting way. Why not just create things that you love and just not close that loophole, just not allow, don't make them in a way that they could sin, and just give them happiness and pleasure and just watch them enjoy their lives. So from my perspective, if I was God and I could create things to love, right, I would create an environment where I could just watch the things that I'm creating just be that I love, be the happiest that they could possibly be. I wouldn't put the things that I love in a position that they could destroy themselves in such a horrible way.
Would you give them the option to go contrary to your will?
Not if it means eternal torture. I would rather see them happy. If I love them, I want them happy. That is basically what love means. I think, in my opinion, love means the strong desire to see something other than yourself very happy. Love to me is when someone else's misery gives you pain and their happiness gives you happiness. That is what I consider to be love. So if I make something and I really love it, I will do everything I possibly can to make them not experience misery.
That's how the Bible depicts God in a way. Although he gave us
God
the ability
created
to
hell.
sin,
God created the most absolute sadistic torture machine in the world. How are you talking about?
No way.
God created.
No way.
Oh.
Wow. That's crazy. But he also gave you a way out of it. There you go. By sacrifice.
I mean, God could just not send people to hell. God could just choose not to send people to hell.
Let me tell you what this sounds like, okay?
But why would he do that? Why would he allow?
Let me imagine, Simon. Imagine if you're a parent, okay, and you love your child, okay, and you buy an oven specifically for torturing your child if she is not grateful to you and if she doesn't listen to you, okay? One day she comes down the stairs, you made her breakfast, you put so much effort into it, she starts eating the breakfast, she doesn't even look at you, she's not grateful to you, okay? You told her that she needs to be grateful, but she doesn't even act like you're even there. So this mother who loves her child grabs her daughter by the hair, puts her in the oven, closes it, turns it on, puts it at temperature so that she doesn't die right away, and she feels the most extreme amount of pain possible before she dies. Okay? What if I say, well, this mother loves her child. She gave her the option to be thankful. It was her that was not thankful. What do you think? Would you not think that I'm insane if I told you that?
Yeah, I would probably think you're insane because you're using an. Come on, say again.
I mean, she created her.
Yeah, I said I would probably think. Yeah, I would say I would probably think you're insane because you're using an example of human beings And just like in the
We're
example
talking
that
about
the other guys
human
asked-
language.
Right. So special pleading.
Okay.
That's your ultimate argument. You're specially pleading for God. You're saying that God can do these things and God is exempt from our consideration of what's moral and immoral because God is God. And this is a really unsatisfying thing. And honestly, I kind of checked out once you said that children deserve to die just because God earmarked them to die. And this whole I don't know if it's like a Southern thing of like, I brought you into this world and I can take you out of it. Like, I simply don't agree with that abusive, toxic idea. And I feel like any kind of conversation that we could have with you is just going to fall on deaf ears because you're perfectly fine with God killing like children, innocent children who have done nothing wrong. You're perfectly fine with that. And you say that it's good. And I don't see how we can really, go anywhere with that.
Also, keep saying that the children are innocent. If the Bible depicts
one second.
The Bible depicts all of humanity as evil. Why do you keep saying innocent children? It already. Go ahead. I'm confused on that. Can you explain that to me? Why you keep saying innocent? If the Bible already depicts that.
I'm sorry. You're like a baby that is just simply born is not evil. And also, God doesn't care about evil. God cares about you obeying his word and what he wants. That has nothing to do with morality. That has nothing to do with subjective determinations of good and bad. Like, it has nothing to do with it whatsoever. It's whether or not you can follow rules. That's it. That has nothing to do with whether or not something is evil, and babies are not born evil. Jesus fucking Christ.
Again, I time out. Okay, look, time out. Calm down. Again, you are not understanding anything.
Hey, wait a minute. Simon. Don't tell John to calm down. You're talking about evil babies here. And then you want John to calm down. In fact, the right reaction is the one that John had. Don't tell John to calm down. That was the proper reaction to the insanity that we're hearing here. Okay. And also, if you're using, when I tell you that what we mean by love, and I give you examples, and you say my examples don't make sense because we're talking in human terms. Yes, we're using a human language. Love is an English word. Language is made by humans for humans to communicate with each other. If in God worlds, if in the realm of gods, these words mean something else, then okay, we're not speaking that language. If in the realm of gods, loving somebody means creating them for them to be destined to be tortured forever just because they didn't follow God's commands, okay, in that world, we don't, that what you're referring to love, we don't want that love. We're talking about the love that we humans here mean when we use the word love. You're talking about something else. So gods, when they talk about love, apparently that means something else. We're using different languages. If you want to, words have to mean something. That's what we mean when we say love. You're just talking about something else, and you call it love.
Yeah. Okay. So. Again, the whole point is that I'm just trying to help you understand. Like, I keep saying like things like babies are innocent. Again, look at how the Bible describes the sinful nature of humanity.
I don't give a fuck about what the Bible says about babies. I don't give a fuck what God thinks as far as sin goes.
I mean, yeah, if the Bible says that babies are evil, then fuck the Bible. If that's your book of love, then fuck that kind of love. I don't want that kind of love. I don't know what you mean by love, but fuck that shit, okay? Like, we don't want that. Keep your Christian love to yourself. We humans here on earth, we do love differently than you guys, okay? I don't know what you do up in the heavens, but here on earth, here on the ground, when we talk about love, it's something actually wholesome and something that actually causes people to be nice to each other, not torture each other, okay? That's the love that we're talking about. Your love is the type of love that ends up in genocide, babies being evil, and people being tortured for thousands of years simply because they didn't thank a narcissistic deity, okay? That could be yours. We here, we will use the version of love when people are kind to each other, people have sympathy for each other, people try to reduce misery, people try to make each other happy. That we keep that kind of, that's the love that we want to, you have your love, we'll keep our love. How about that?
I'm very, this is interesting, like how y'all are like understanding the Bible, Mr. Armin. I mean,
fuck the Bible. I think, Simon, you don't understand. We don't give a shit about your Bible, okay? If your Bible, it says the things that you're saying, that we don't want anything to do with it. I mean, whatever our understanding of the Bible, forget that. Our understanding of what you're describing about what the Bible says, we're just dealing with that. If that's what the Bible says, we don't want anything to do with that. I mean, we're assuming that you're right, okay? You know what? Our understanding of the Bible is wrong. You're correct. If you're correct, then fuck that whole shit. We don't want that.
That's fine. That's fine. But
Yeah,
I also have one more. I have one more question. I have one more question.
Well, we're going to need
you said that God.
Simon. This is going to be the last question because we do have other callers to move on to. So we'll try to interact with it in a very brief manner, but then we got to let you go. Okay.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. What's your question?
Yeah, you, Armin, you previously said that the Bible does not depict God as the omni-God, the tri-omni-God. Is that true that you said that?
Yeah, that's a later invention.
Yes. The Bible shows that God has limited power in somewhere, like for example, iron chariots. Apparently, also God, for example, looks for Adam sometimes. The ancient understanding of like a lot of the texts in the Bible by the people who read it was not this as at the beginning as in early Judaism and even early Christian sects, based on the people at that time, was not that the God was completely all powerful, all loving, or anything. In fact, early Christian sects, some of them even believe that the main God character is evil. So there's that as well. This was an evolving religion.
I'm not. Yeah, that's fine. I could debate you on that too, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm just going to challenge you to actually look at what the Bible depicts as God. I mean, you could just look it up. It takes you 5 minutes just to look up. Okay.
I have.
It's very clear to see that the Bible seems to have limitations as an all-powerful God. He says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. He says that all things were created through him. So I'm saying he's time.
He also says I needed rest on the 7 days. On the seventh day, which like that.
Right.
So just understand the Jews when they read that God needs rest on the seventh day, they understood that this is a God that gets tired. Okay, so there you go.
I'm sorry, he kind of started spazzing out there, and he was preaching at that point, so I went ahead and I dropped him. We both Armin and I definitely know what the God, how God is described in the Bible. God is described as a genocidal. Misogynist, as well as plenty of other things that we could label him. So, I mean, I feel like we definitely understand the Bible, and we don't need to be talked at for that, especially not preached at. So, all right, we do have some more callers to get to. Are you okay to continue there, Armin?
Yes, of course. I'm here as long as you are.
All right, so we got David from Colorado. What's up there, David? How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. The sun is still out, so I'm going to say good morning because I work nights.
Okay. All right, so what would you like to talk about there, David?
I'm Jewish, and I would like to address the people that have been calling in and trying to defend slavery. It's bad, guys. It's terrible. No matter how you put it, it's bad. To try to defend it is to not learn from our mistakes. To defend it is to ignore the passages in the Tanakh where God even describes himself as in he brings good and he brings evil. He does this, he says this several times. And I know people will say, well, why should I worship him? Well, maybe you shouldn't. And I am Jewish. I believe in God. in my own way. But what happens when God does terrible things? Moses himself went to God and said, "What is wrong with you?" When God wanted to destroy the people because they were worshiping the calf, Moses approached God and said, "What is wrong with you?" He fought for the people. So you who are the atheists on here are actually doing more of the biblical things than the Christians who blindly follow are doing.
But
By
David, you
getting
cannot.
angry with God.
So David, correct me. David, correct me if I'm wrong. The Jewish tradition has more of a is more challenging God. It's more of a like a sparring with God than Christianity. Okay, but you cannot convince a Christian to do such a thing because that's not the Christian way, right? The Jewish faith, there's a lot more tradition in the Jewish faith that there's like there seems to be like a challenge between man and God. That's not the way that Christians look at God.
Yeah, no, I understand that. But when the Christians add their book to the back of the Tanakh, it should show that, hey, let's look and read what had happened. Not read, study. And so what I can do myself is defend my side. And if they want to
So how do you defend
that
yourself?
way, that's fine with me.
Okay.
Oh, to defend my side.
You believe slavery is bad, and you believe in a God that has done terrible things and does terrible things sometimes, and he could be challenged and he could be questioned. And if you don't think that God is deserving of worship, it's fine. You don't have to worship him, but you still believe it exists, right?
Yeah. Well, and I believe that there's something greater. Do I know what that is? Hell no. None of us do. That's the search, that's seeking, that's finding, that's the wrestling with God.
What is some?
And I'm on a journey to do it.
David, if I say, do you believe in God? You say yes or no?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, what is God?
Now, do I know what God is? No, I have no idea. That's the journey. That's the seeking. And me.
So how could you claim, David? I don't understand. David, I don't understand. How could you believe in something when you don't even know what it is? To believe in something, the first step is to actually know what it is.
Yeah, no, I completely understand where you're coming from. That's my personal thing, though. And I'm not trying to convince you of anything.
I know, but
at the beginning.
I know you're not trying to convince me, but would you mind? I want to understand, though. Is that okay if I ask you so I could understand?
Yeah, no, that's completely fine. And I appreciate you asking me. So I am on a journey to figure out what God is, right? And maybe I'll never figure it out. But what it does for me is it brings me connection with people, and it shows me to love others, and to my job in this world is, it's been a broken world, and it's to fix that. It's the best way I could put it is why I feel like a lot of Jewish people feel it's our job to fix this world. It's not God's job. It's like the movie Biodome, right? Pauly Shore, our rabbi Pauly Shore, opens up the door and all chaos breaks loose, and it's their job to fix it. It's the same thing. It's my job to see a need and fix a need.
David,
Wait,
to me,
David,
okay, go on, John. You go.
No, sorry, this is really kind of inconsequential. Did you just say that your rabbi's name is Pauly Shore?
I was talking about Biodome. So, yeah, I like to make the joke.
Okay.
It's Rabbi Pauly Shore.
Okay.
I learned from him. So hey.
So David, I know John, I think you want to move on to the next. So I just have one more question from David. This is very interesting to me. So I'll be quick, okay? Because David, to me, it seems like the thing you're referring to as God is not really anything at all. It's just there are these names and symbols and traditions that is an excuse for you to bring you closer to people with the same symbols and traditions. Like, it seems like to me, it's not even about the God. It's like this is a name that is pointing to nothing at all, but it doesn't really matter as long as it's like a membership card, and it's also an identity card that is just an excuse for you to be connecting with each other, even if it's not pointing at anything at all. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and if that's what you're hearing, that's fine. I understand that. But
because the thing that you valued here was not God. The thing that you valued here was your connection with other people and the things that you get to do to better the world. And this is just a code name for you guys to recognize each other, even though it's not pointing to really anything, because you yourself don't know. You're claiming that you don't know what this name is pointing even to. It just seems, to me, it seems like you're just using it as a way to do things and be connected to other people. So it's not about God. It's about other people.
Yeah, and that's where God placed us. And to my focus, it's hard to explain so quickly, right? But within Torah is my North Star. That's where I start. That's where I begin to seek this God. And do I pray? Yes. Do I pray to God? Yes. And what happens at that time when I set aside time and I set aside a ritual, maybe all it is that I'm thinking.
But David, the text that you're reading, you try to better the world. You try to better the world, and you try to connect to other people. And I see your love for other people, but your North Star is that book that is so mean to other people, that is anti-human, that is cruel to other people.
And the thing is we learn from our mistakes. And I study because there's wonderful things in there. I'm sure you could agree with that. And there's terrible things in it. And I know you agree with that. And we need to study and we need to ask the questions. Just as you said, being a Jewish person, what I do is I wrestle with God. That is that's the name that was given to Jacob, was to wrestle with God.
Yes.
And all I wanted.
Well, I hope I hope in wrestling with God you destroy that bastard. Like, I hope you fucking annihilate that evil monster that described in the Torah, because he's not good.
And as I say, you guys are doing as the righteous did, asking the questions, getting angry. You guys, I know you have a charity, and I think that's wonderful. I just want to tell you, from one theist to an atheist, keep doing God's work.
Right. Yeah, but I just, David, I love what you do and I love what you care about. I just don't like it when this much goodwill and people being nice to each other and people trying to build a better world. Given that humans are doing this and humans are getting around and working with each other and achieving this, I hate it when then all of a sudden they go around and give all the credit to such an evil character in their books. Like, you acknowledge that this is a terrible monster that does terrible things, and then you go and do all of these great things with each other, and you're so nice with each other, and you do good work, and then you say my North Star was this book of evil. Like, I don't think that God deserves any of this credit for all the good work that you're doing. But anyways,
well,
sorry, John.
We are all part of God, and He brings evil and He brings good, and I can choose to bring good.
I hope you continue to choose to bring good.
And I hope you choose to continue being angry with God and asking the questions. All right. Have a wonderful day.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, though, David. You have a great night. All right, there are a couple of theists in line to talk to us to finish out the night, but we do need to, read off some of these awesome super chats that we got here. So first up is Afrostorian, who says, Armin out here with the Superman cow lick.
Thank you.
And then there's Isaiah S., who said that Q, M, and L sources, did they exist in written, oral form, or were the authors just creative liars? Well, I don't believe in any of those sources, like as far as them actually existing. I know that a lot of people right now are saying that like they could exist in multiple different forms, like oral form, but all written form. But there's really no evidence that they actually existed in history. I think that the ability for the gospel authors to have been creative and not necessarily lie, but just make up stories in order to teach things about Christianity, I think that they're more than able to do that. Do you have any thoughts there, Armin, on that?
No, that was good. No, that was good. I know we're running out of time, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Next is Afrostorian again, who says that anyone who says that the King James is the oldest English Bible does not know their Bible history. The Genevieve Bible is 51 years older. Tyndale is 80 years older, and Coverdale is near 70 years older. So, yeah. And then next is Nero, who says, in quotes, "How dare you answer my question honestly, Larry." And then we got Miranda Rensberger, who says the differences between a servant and a slave. You don't buy servants. You can't beat them to within an inch of their life, and they are allowed to leave your employment whenever they choose. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the person who stated like, "Oh my God, I was beaten the crap out of. I could just leave anytime I want, but I'm choosing this." Sure.
And then there's Laren Misha Sadai, who says, quote, "I'm going to reread the same verse you just read with different word emphasis. That'll prove my point." End quote. That was Larry again. That was an interesting call to start off the night with. Miranda Rensberger again, who says, "Pro tip for callers: if you call in to defend horrendous things and try to tell the host they're not allowed to talk, don't expect that to go well for you." I wholeheartedly agree about that. Next is Laren Misha Sadai again, who says, "I'd like to special plead my special pleading to special plead."
Oh, what happened? Is John frozen for you guys? Oh, yeah. Is it me or is John out? Okay, I think John is out. He's going to come back. Let's bring Scott up if John is out. Scott, can we bring Scott up here? Where were we on the super chats? I need to figure this out. Oh, you're on top of it? Okay, fantastic. If they bring Scott up. Scott is talking to me and he's saying that, okay. Okay, John is back.
Oh.
John is back.
Okay, so sorry about that. So sorry about. I don't know what happened. My stuff crashed or something in the browser here.
Well, okay. You came out very fast, so no issue.
Okay. So let's see. Des Williams says it's turtles all the way down. Universe farting turtles, yes. That is.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Fantastic. Then, yeah, well, guys, we're taking over. This is great. This is
yeah.
Yes. Farting turtle icons, like emoticons in the chat, everyone. But yeah, go on.
Let's see. Next is Nero, who says God Fitzma nuts in his mouth. Ayo. Let's see. Humanistic Judaism says, can Christians explain why God didn't create darkness and water? Genesis says his spirit floated on the water. Bible God did not create anything. Interesting. Next is Humanistic Judaism again, who says, can Christians explain why God didn't create darkness and water? Genesis says his spirit floated on the water. Bible God did not create anything. Oh, they said it twice. Laren Misha Sadai says a morally bankrupt position cannot buy a vowel. That's a good point. And then finally, we've got Spinoza Havra, who says, if death is the wage of sin, why did Yahweh kill the Egyptian firstborn who were babies and never sinned? They sinned just by existing, as we heard from the one caller. All right. So now with Super Chats out of the way, do you want to get to our last couple of callers? We're going to try to make them kind of quick.
Yes.
So, all right.
Okay.
So next up is Hannah. How you doing there, Hannah? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Doing all right.
Okay.
How about you, Armin?
Good. What's your question?
So, well, it's not really a question. It's more like a discussion topic. So I just called in because I wanted to discuss the communitarian case against secularism, or why I think communitarianism provides a good case for religion and against secularism. So I don't know how familiar either of you. Do either of you have any familiar with communitarian philosophy?
Yeah, I think communitarians have to be the greatest advocates of secularism, actually, given that increases more opportunities for society to come up with the glue that holds communities together, instead of just having one that dominates the entire one society.
Well, no, I mean, for example, the people I was going to reference, Charles Taylor and Patrick Deneen, are both, to my understanding, pretty critical of secularism and of naturalism. Could I just have a minute to just run down their argument and the basic point?
Sure, but can you do it quick, because we're over time and there's also another person waiting.
Sure. So basically, communitarianism is a philosophy which stresses the moral importance of community shaping subjectivity, and it's traces its intellectual lineage to thinkers like certain interpretations of Aristotle and especially Hegel. And people like Charles Taylor and Patrick Deneen point out that our selfhood with a capital S is bound up with the dialectic with others, and as opposed to sort of an atomistic view of the individual as detached from community. And basically what I would argue is because of the fact that religion presents shared moral fabric, it provides a strong basis for this dialectic and of community. And
is it the only way? Is it the only thing that could do that? Is religion the only thing that could do that? Not necessarily.
Well,
why don't we? Secularism. First of all, secularism does not remove religion from society. Okay, it just only it avoids one of them dominating over the other ones. Okay, secularism actually allows communities to have religion. Okay, it just doesn't regulate them. It doesn't suppress them. It allows them the freedom to express their religion. So secularism is not anti-communities having religious beliefs. Okay, and also if you need a glue for community, for people. So the way I look at it, there's three levels. There's the individual level, there's the state level, but there's something in between that holds societies together, which is the community level. And the communitarians believe that the individual and the state is not enough to hold community, people together. There's something missing in between, and that's where they come in and believe in the power of communities. But religion is not the only glue and the only excuse. I mean, there are so many things. You could have chess clubs. You could have Dungeons and Dragons. You could have fans. We could have the ACA. Okay, the ACA shows that there are so many ways of providing that missing glue that bonds us together without religion. And secularism provides a level playing field for everybody to compete. In fact, if you don't have secularism, maybe ideas that are not the best, not the best ways of maintaining a community, will dominate without anyone else having the opportunity to compete with it. Secularism provides you the communities, the society, the opportunity for all of these different methods to have a fair chance of competing with each other and have the best solution to provide this need for societies.
Well, I would argue that the problem is that secular communities, I think you have to look into the history of how the problem with secular, well, first of all, when I say secularism, I mean cultural secularism, not just political secularism. I don't just mean separation of church and state. I mean specifically the idea that of rejecting religion on a cultural level. But what I'm trying to argue is that
are secular people missing out here? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, but could I just finish my point? So one of the things that I've read is from people like Charles Taylor and his reading of people like Max Weber and others is that modern throughout history, most people have gained meaning through a narrative, and that's like sort of like what Jordan Peterson talks about with like a metaphysical substrate. You could say like the idea that there's a transcendent logos that makes reality intelligible, the idea that life is purposeful, there's a shared moral code, that each individual is created with transcendent value, et cetera, and that nowadays, because those things are
Hannah, the reason why I interrupt you is because we have to, we need to keep this really short. John has a point, and then I have a point, but go on, John.
Well, I mean, I was just going to say this is a really complex topic to bring up at the very end of the show. And I realize that you didn't call in necessarily to be at the end of the show, but we do need to sort of keep this kind of quick because we're over time and everything like that. So I'm trying to get everybody in that has been waiting for so long. So, I mean, just let's try to wrap this up though.
Just really quick, Hannah. I don't think just really quick. When you say metaphysical, I don't really think that you just need something greater than yourself, something that creates a sense of belonging, a sense of purpose. It doesn't have to be metaphysical. Okay, it could be nationalism. It could be a sense of service to your country. It doesn't have to be metaphysical. It doesn't we have shown that there are many things that could provide the same feelings, the same service, satisfy the same desires, and create the same bond, and give you the same sense of collective identity without it being metaphysical.
But I think one of the things that's important to point out there is how historically religion as a glue. Like I'll just take an example from my own faith tradition. So I'm a Noahide, which means that I'm a non-Jewish person who subscribes to Jewish religion. And so
Hannah, but that's anecdotal. That's anecdotal. Hannah, we need to move up. That is anecdotal. What I agree with you that's historically religion has provided that role.
Provide the example because I've called them.
No, because that's anecdotal. That's anecdotal, and we need to move on. John said we need to move on, okay? And that's anecdotal, and something that has been throughout history the same way. That doesn't mean it needs to be the same way going forward. We have seen secular societies not missing out anything, okay? We have seen societies without that religious bond doing just fine. In fact, they on happiness index and everything else, they're performing better than many other countries, okay? So we're not missing out on anything. Based on you're talking about philosophers, you're talking about rational. I'm talking about empiricism, which my empiricism always does better than your rationalism. And empirically, societies without religion are not missing out on anything. They're the happiest countries in the world, on average.
Let me finish my point. You'll realize it's not anecdotal. The problem is that I called towards the beginning of the show, and I had a point.
Hannah, you haven't. I understand, Hannah. I understand, and I'm so sorry that you waited for so long to get to this point. But we do need to close out the show. So I implore you to call in on another time. Maybe try to call in as soon as the show starts up, or even before the show starts up. So I would implore you to do that, because this is an in-depth conversation. You deserve to have an in-depth conversation with somebody about it. And I hope that you can get in on another call in the future. But right now we're kind of limited on time.
I know, but it's literally, my point is literally just a minute long is what I'm saying. If you just give me 1 minute, literally, and then we can end the call here. Please.
All right. Well, 1 minute.
Okay. So basically the 1 minute point I was just trying to make, for example, from my own community, my own faith tradition is there are many people who are of Jewish heritage. For example, the sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, he was a secular Jew, and I use him as a good example because he took his inspirations and his critiques of globalism and advocacy for community from traditional Jewish concepts like tzedakah, and people and other Jews have not. Like, for example, Hannah Arendt was Jewish, but she completely rejected religious tradition. And even though I really like her in some respects, I think her anti-Zionism and other things is really shameful. But for example, that's an example where even people who don't necessarily subscribe completely to the doctrine still get searching for meaning in transcendent values. And in a lot of classical religious sources, communitarian ideals like charity, respecting your parents, etc., are valued. And I think that's a traditional source of meaning in Judeo-Christian culture. But,
that's 1 minute. You did exactly what I thought you're going to do. These are examples, okay? And you didn't show that there's nothing that we don't have better ways of achieving the same thing. You telling me that religious bonds and religious, metaphysical beliefs gets us to here does not show that this is the only way or if this is the best way. The best way is to let all of these different methods compete, and society, through a Darwinian competition, we will see who will be able to produce the best societies and the best bonds and the best communities. Anyways.
Okay. Well, you're running on certain time, but I just want to say thanks for taking my call. It's unfortunately we couldn't take it earlier, but goodbye and good end of the show.
And call back again. This is an interesting conversation, so I enjoyed talking to you. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thank you so much, Hannah, for calling in. And I saw that maybe Hannah did call in before the show started, so that kind of made my point a little bit moot there. I know calls filled up kind of quick tonight. I wasn't exactly expecting it to fill up so quick, but in any case, we do have another caller on the line, but I think that I'm going to direct them to the Discord after show. I know I'm at least going to be there. I think there are a few other people are going to be there too. So I think that we're sorry, Chuck, but we're going to have to drop you, and hopefully you can join us over there on Discord.
I feel bad for Chuck.
Yeah, I know. I know. I feel bad for him too, but we have been going kind of long, and it seemed like he had a rather involved topic to talk about, and I don't want to short him on the conversation like we had to do with Hannah. But anyways, I guess that's going to be it tonight for the show. I really appreciate everybody tuning in, all of the callers that have called in to interact with us tonight. Really appreciate everybody. So this week's prompt, just to remind everybody, is the worst thing to give up for Lent. Get your answers in the comments, and it might be read at the beginning of next week's episode. I do want to thank our backup for helping out tonight, Scott. Let's see, Scott. There it is. Yep. So thank you so much for playing backup. You almost had to jump in there for a second. God,
I was ready. I was raring to go. Although, it was a very interesting start to the show. It was just in honor of caller Steve, I want to paraphrase the movie Alien real quick. And what I want to say is, when you're the backup host and you're on mute, no one can hear you scream. So I'll just leave it with that.
That's good. Also, Scott, I really appreciate you always being there, because every time you're like yes, or like thumbs up, or like you're like going like this, it motivates me. Like I'm always looking at you, and your reaction actually motivates me.
I gotta let it out, man. I gotta let it out.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, want to say thank you to everybody that helps put the ACA's show on here. Everybody is awesome that helps out doing this. So I guess we will see all you heathens next week. Same ACA time, same ACA place.
Like the show, everyone. Like the show. Yes. Thank you.
Stop questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys. You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs. I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.